And the conversation we're having today is about the mystery of the female founder. Now, all three of us are female entrepreneurs, and we all have our own perspective and viewpoint on the struggles of being a successful female founder. But also, there is a phenomena in the entrepreneurship arena that we have seen as a pattern that maybe other people don't agree with, where it would appear that male founders always talk about their success being tied to their wife, who is like their backbone, their supporter, who makes things possible. And there's very rarely a female founder that is upfront and talks about, the man that was behind her. It tends to be like either single women or women with invisible husbands and partners. But there lies within that a question for female founders around, is there something that maybe our egos are doing, or something that happens in the invisible, hidden, subconscious or unconscious, that maybe holds us back from achieving all of these heights or attaining all of these accolades? Because maybe on a subconscious level, we are taught or we feel like we should be supporting a man. And that might be a bit of a reach, but there might be something in it. So the conversation today with myself, Monet, and Lois is around what is going on with the female ego when we become founders, entrepreneurs, and step into that business space that seems to be dominated by male founders. So, hi, Rebecca. So, hopefully, lots of people will watch the live and join in the conversation. Like, I'd love to hear other people's opinions, and obviously, we're just going to discuss it. So, Monet, thoughts?
Well, Lois, you start because you had an idea, and I think you went like, what, power, or it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about it from the corporate position to stepping out of that and stepping into entrepreneurship, and what a drastic change that was for me that I didn't expect. But what I've come to realize is the power that I had in the corporate role was borrowed, because I had the title, I had the backing, I had all of these things that allowed me to believe that it was my own personal power that was running it. And when I stepped out of that, so it's kind of going to the identity that Sheryl was alluding to. Okay, now I'm no longer this corporate powerhouse woman. Now I'm an entrepreneur, like starting at the freaking bottom again. And all of the beliefs of the corporate world, I still had in the back of my mind, but they weren't working over here. And I believe that it was because I didn't have that perceived power, and I hadn't developed my own inner power. Because while I was in the corporate climb, I believed I had inner power, and I didn't recognize that it really wasn't that. A little bit, but not to the extent that an entrepreneur would need. And I think, like, to tie it into this conversation, like, the man, always has it. He always has projected power because of the patriarchy, because he's a man, right? That's how we're raised. And the woman is supporting him. Well, we're out here as lone wolves, and we don't have a wife, right? We don't have that. And I don't believe that the man is built to fill that role. So, like, we get into this space of still having to do it all. We have to be the leader, be the entrepreneur, be the success, and we still have to run the household. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think that's accurate.
yeah, and I think for me also being well, I don't know whether single or not is important, but I mean, when I was talking to Cheryl, it was like you see all of these founding men and they talk about their success or about the woman. And I mean, one specific one was I was earning X, and after I married my wife, I started earning Y. And I'm like, what, number one, why is that relevant? Could you have done it without you? Are they just creating content because they're actually creating? It's annoying me because it actually puts a lot of pressure on you to say, well, I was earning X and I was always earning exactly what you were saying, Cheryl. I was always earning a good salary. I found my purpose and now I'm not earning a salary. So what are you saying? Like, should I even be watching you? But, should I be listening to you because you're talking rubbish? And it's scary, it's annoying, and yeah, I think it's just I'm in that space at the moment where, and this came from the whole conversation Cheryl and I were saying, putting yourself out there because you're going to get judged, and when you're getting judged as a woman, it's not the same. I'm perceiving how men get judged, and that in itself just creates an a them and us a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
I mean, I think
that,
that's from childhood, right? Little boys are praised for what they do. Little girls are praised for who they are. And so we, as women, don't know how to separate the role from our identity. So that judgment that we feel, we personalize and we internalize it. Whereas a man probably just says, oh, they don't like what I'm doing, but he doesn't take that into his identity and think, oh, I'm failing or I'm a failure or they don't like me. Like that, I believe that doesn't really enter their minds where we let it rule our mind.
yeah, I agree. And I think for many of us, especially those of us who've done the corporate climb, I think it's a little bit different for women who just kind of maybe went through education, graduated, but maybe in their 20s or early 30s just started their own thing. For those of us that did the more traditional climb of you get the job, you work your way up, etc. And like Lois said, we thought that we had power, but we borrowed power. We followed the patriarchal structure. And even then, 90% of us would have had a male boss, male company owner, male founder, male boards. Like we would have been like one of few women that were doing the real work, making the real decisions, holding the real power. And even if there were women in prominent positions, they were also following a quite masculine structure, right? So I think what happens is you get to a certain level where you then, for whatever reason, usually some kind of awakening, decide you want to align with and follow your purpose. That purpose is very rarely aligned with the work or career path that we'd followed. So, making that move, we're under the illusion that we have all of this power and all of this achievement and all of this success and confidence as a result of it. And then making that shift feels like a downward shift because now we've gone to, like you said, back to the beginning, basics, we're building something. And I think the real issue is not always within us, even though we will have an identity shift, right? To go from C suite this, do you know who I am? I'm this person in this arena, to now being one of many just out here trying to find their way. I think it's the way that the world perceives us, and then we're reacting to that. So if we step into an arena where, I don't know, you're a coach or a consultant of some sort, there's going to be a lot of men there who remain within that ego and the arrogance and the bravado and the, oh, it's this and we do it like this. And as a woman, we now are acutely aware of not having the same confidence, not maybe even being as sure as ourselves because we're starting something new. And now we're confronted by and with this masculine energy that, like you said, maintains the power, maintains the self-belief. And I think for so many of us, and this is speaking like not just from my own experience, but from women that I talk to all the time that are doing their own thing, we find ourselves kind of struggling to really push forward, because I do believe that we have an innate sense of responsibility around things like children, the home. If we're not looking after children, we're looking after parents. If it's not parents, it's the neighbours or somebody in the community. We're always doing that caring, nurturing role that doesn't give us the ability to fly. Like a man, before he gets married, backpack, travel around the world, go live in Bali for a few years, rock up being an entrepreneur and trying these things and doing all of this, whatever. Whereas for women, even if we don't have children and we're not married, we still have that sense of responsibility, right? So if we're talking about the ego, and think of it as the iceberg, the ego at the very top is the gatekeeper that's keeping us safe. But beneath the surface is all of the complex emotional responsibility that kind of throws us off every now and then. So even when we make an advance, up crops a feminine responsibility, right? Like your child has a crisis, your parents go into crisis, there's a health issue, there's something else that kind of brings us back to that innate sense of being in the world that is, I find, really challenging to break free from, to get to that place of being like completely selfish and completely in that like that masculine energy of taking action and then allowing ourselves to use the feminine to receive. It's like the feminine is always left back with the home fires, right? In some way, shape, or form. And I think even if we think about the male founder that becomes successful after he meets his wife, I think what we are seeing is even those wives who are in their own way, in their own right, successful. And I just use the Alex and Leela Hormozi example. She was successful before she met him. She has her own success, and yet he is the bolder, more present, more animated, like louder presence. And she still sits behind him while she's having this great success of her own. And is that something that women innately do? Do we naturally take that position, or is the world forcing us into that position? So is it almost unnatural for us to be the founder and the face, and more natural for us to be the architect? Like, does our power become the backbone for the man? Is that our natural power? And is that what we're fighting against when we come out doing the work and pushing forward?
Yeah. And Cara is
The
saying,
feel.
And Cara said we've been trained to take that position.
Yeah. And then when you were speaking the whole time, Cheryl, I'm thinking also, and we have this fear of failure. And the amount of men I see out there talking about their failure as a positive thing, whereas as women, we tend not to talk about it because we don't want to be looked down on or seen to have failed at something. And for men, it's so natural to talk about it.
But is their sense
like
of failure different from a woman's sense of failure?
Yeah,
we
I think
identify
so.
with it. We internalize it. We take it as we're failing. not not the thing failed. Like, we
Right.
just don't know how to separate our identity from our career or money or anything, right? It's so
Yeah.
internalized because of how we are brought up to believe that good girls don't do that. Like, little girls don't make those noises.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
all so ingrained in us from childhood on that we just can't separate very easily. Like, it takes a lot of work to get to that point where
Yeah.
my identity can be in one box. My wholeness is never affected by any business failure that I have. But I have a hard time believing that.
And even being
Yeah.
motivated to be a founder. I mean, for my example is, I've been 18 months now, and my family still, is telling me to find a job. And it's like, nobody's really getting behind you, as yet I've got another family member who's a man who's an entrepreneur, and everybody's behind him. But as a woman, it's like, well, you better find a job and start earning some money. So why is there that disconnect? Why is it
Yeah.
okay for a man to be a founder and an entrepreneur, but as a woman, go find a job?
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I think I have a lot of silent judgment, and the silent judgment comes from my children. I don't think they'll watch this, but I'm just going to say it. Where I can feel the confusion. What are you doing now? Like, are we still doing this, or what is happening? And I'm not in a position where, like, financially there aren't results, right? Like, financially, like, things are okay, they're going well. But the confusion around what exactly do you get up and do every day, almost as if they can't name it, they can't be proud of it.
Yeah.
Or they can't say that their identity is tied to my mum does this, right? And then with my partner, who might also watch this, I think he's always trying to solve my work problems. And so it's almost like there's a little bit of trust. You're doing a great job. I can see you're doing great. And then the minute I become like, I get into work and I become work focused and work is the priority, he has an approach which is, and I know that this comes from a good place, but it's almost like, you must be struggling. You're taking all your time working on whatever. I'm not seeing you. I'm not hearing from you. Let me step in and solve it. What is going on? What is the stress? What is the right? So it's almost like, even just being seen as a woman in business, the assumption is you don't know what you're doing. You must be confused. Everything's hit and miss. There's no rhyme or reason. And the way that you're working,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense
You
according
must be doing
to
something
what
wrong.
the world says makes sense, especially for men. And actually, it's better that you just, like you said, get a job or do something simple that everybody understands so that everybody knows what to do with it. And the other thing that happens, and I've seen this happen with men in not exactly my industry, but men kind of like in coaching, wellness, etc., is that they just want to swoop in and take over from women. So they will come to you, and this has happened, this exact scenario, and make you an offer as if you are not their peer or even superior to them in your work. They'll come in and make you an offer. Oh, what will it take for you to come and be my top coach, my premium coach? I'm not your anything. This is my business doing what I do, and you're doing what you do. What makes you think that you can make me an offer? Like, I've never met a woman who tried to offer me a role within her business, as in, hi, I see what you're doing, come and work for me and you'll be my whatever. Women always try and partner with other women, right? Let's do this together. Let's see how we can make this work between us. But a man will automatically come in, let me show you how you can be more successful. You come and work for me. And I think it's the fact that as women, we do work maybe in a more complex way. We do work with more feeling and intuition. But at the same time, I think we build structures, we still build frameworks, we still build, right, and create things. We just might do it in a slightly different way. But yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion from the outside world around how women work, what we're doing. And if we do not show up with the same phrases, buzzwords, job titles, business positioning, then men somehow want to take over. And we, as women, start to doubt ourselves, maybe, because we're not following what looks linear, but everything's zigzag anyway, right? There is no linear. But for men, somehow, and this brings me on to one of my favorite subjects, for men, somehow, the zigzag is acceptable. But for women, you're failing when you're zigzagging.
Mm.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I think that it still goes back to childhood, right? What you're describing, what both of you are describing, is you taking ownership for the other person's thoughts and feelings about what you're doing, right? So as little girls, we're told, oh, you hurt mommy's feelings, or, you know, you have to be nice to little Johnny. Like, oh, look, you made little Johnny cry. No, I didn't. Little Johnny cried because he didn't like what I did. I didn't make it happen. And when we have, especially someone really close to us, like our children or a spouse or a family member who doesn't understand what we're doing, and we have this innate desire to be understood in order to validate ourselves, then there's that disconnect. And I think it creates a lack of personal power with what you own, what you're doing, that signals to the other person that it's okay for them to interject. Because there's some
See, I don't agree.
little doubt in our mind.
I don't agree. I don't agree. I definitely wasn't raised like that. So that was not my childhood training. I think men are raised like that. And I don't think men take the time necessarily to stop and think before they make those moves, because I'm not asking for help. I'm certainly not asking to be bought or managed or employed. I think this is the business world is seen as being masculine, and so men automatically position themselves as successful or on the way to success. And the other reason I don't agree with that is because that is not my thought process. I know it's a lot of women's thought process, but it's definitely not mine. I'm not confused at what I'm doing. I don't believe that a man is supposed to save me, provide for me, make things possible for me. But I know that a lot of women believe that, usually based on either their fathers, their partners, or even maybe like brothers. Like, I'm an only child, mostly raised by a single mum. That was not my experience. And in fact, I've been working since the age of 11. So I see men doing these things and I tend to sidestep them. I'm not usually going to confront them, but I'll be like, thanks for that. And I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But then I've worked since 2008 in my own business. So I've bridged a lot of those gaps. I think there are a lot of women now, mainly because of the job market or because they've had awakenings in their personal life, that are stepping into their purpose, that are dealing with a lot of this feedback, but also they see stepping into their purpose as a drop from whatever they did in work or in their career. They see it as a drop. but that's the ego telling them that. And then if they tend to have personal ties like children, parents, or a partner or other people that have seen them in a certain role, then they're struggling to bridge the gap because their ego is like, I'm dying because we're changing everything. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's an element of the childhood training, but even that I think is generational. I don't know if millennials are feeling this, and I certainly don't think that Gen Zs are feeling it. So I think maybe for an element there is, but I don't think that's true for everyone. I think that there are a lot of men who are gold digging, and it's purely acceptable, it's fully acceptable and never seen as a problem. So when Zuckerberg married up, nobody talked about his wife's education, intelligence, wealth, and how she helped him. The same with Bill Gates. Monet was saying earlier that Alex Hormozy moved into Layla's parents' house when he started. So what people aren't talking about, and I think what more women need to really get a hold of, is what their power actually is, because it's not the power that we borrow in corporate. We are great earners, right? So many men choose their female partners based on their earning ability, the families they come from, and the opportunities that are available to them, which is why we hear this rhetoric on and on with these male founders. I went from this to this. Why did you go from 100 grand a year to $1 million a year? Was it your wife's father or brother that gave you an opportunity? Was it that her earning power kept you going so you could figure it out? What is the truth? And I think what we're not often told as women and what we're not often credited for is our ability to earn and sometimes out earn our male counterparts, and we're not given credit for it.
Do you think that we seek out those opportunities like men do? Because I don't see
No,
women
because I
doing
don't,
that.
I
I
don't,
see us
I
trying
don't
to.
think we do it enough. I
I
don't
see
think we
us
do it
trying to white
enough.
knuckle it ourselves
I don't think we
versus.
do it enough, but also I think there is this like undertone, right? And this is very scorpionic. There's this undertone of when a woman seeks a man of means or seeks to marry up or partner up, she is automatically a gold digger. When a man does it, he's just smart. And I think the world we're living in now, I think men are doing it way more than women, because women who do it are seen as a dolly bird, a certain kind of woman, right? They're not usually attributed with like being smart, right? But we're in an age where women are not afraid to earn. They're not afraid to carve out a career path. They're not afraid to get out there and work hard, right? It's fully acceptable. But how many relationships, if everyone's really honest, how many relationships do we know where the woman's actually the breadwinner, but the man is the face and making all the decisions, or appears to be, and saying all the good things? What are we as women doing about that? And actually, I think women are less inclined to seek a man of greater means because we've figured out how to take care of ourselves, right? Financially, at least. I don't know.
All of the women breadwinners, like in my world, the man is hidden, silent. We don't see him at
Yeah.
all. I don't see him at all. Just
Yeah.
like you don't with a woman until the man is successful and then he says, oh, it's because of my wife.
Yeah.
I don't hear any of the women saying it's because of my husband, but you know.
But we still have what feels like glass ceilings and walls around us making certain moves. And I definitely think there's something in the ego, especially for women in the early stages, right? Until you're used to being out in the Wild West, I think that ego is screaming danger, right? Like, what are you going to do? Who's going to take care of this? Who's going to make this happen? Who's going to make that happen? Almost as if we don't trust men to take care of their home fires. And obviously, more and more men are doing that, which I think is great and important. But I just think there's a bridge that is needed where we can go from whatever we've achieved to living our purpose, working with our purpose, and still feeling like we have that level of attainment, success, achievement, or whatever, without feeling like we have this massive confidence crash and this fall from grace almost, and feeling like we need to explain ourselves. I think men just don't explain themselves, but women, we're constantly like, well, this is why I do it, and this is how I got started, and this is what I'm hoping for, and this is where I'd like to be, right? Instead of just like being as bold and brazen and being like, I do this with or without a partner or whatever. Whereas men almost, they're bold and brazen, but if they do have the wife, I think they are reiterating the place of the woman. I think that's what a lot of them are doing. Like, look at me, great caveman. I've made all these things possible with my little wife in the background. When it's your little wife that gave you the position you're in, and gave you, in a lot of instances, opportunities, resources, maybe even a certain lifestyle so that you could go and do certain things. But it is the little wife behind me. Every great man, there's a greater woman behind. I think they are reiterating that. And I think as women, we've got to be mindful of what we're taking in and taking on.
I think because sorry, when we were chatting earlier and you were talking about, and I'm going to go back to ego, and you were saying, but it's your ego protecting you. And then remember, I got quite frustrated and I said, well, why can't my ego be like this guy's and just put myself out there? Why must my ego be protecting me? And then we spoke about the bridge. And I wonder how much research has actually been done on that. Is there a difference between a man and a woman's ego?
Yeah, there's a lot of research on it. But it's very different. It's very different because the things that the ego is built on, and astrologically and in soul work, there's like a whole debate around this. And that can be attributed to, like, if you're a Leo, a Sag, like fire signs, their egos are formed differently than like an earth sign. It's like a fire sign is about action and doing. And, for a Leo, it's about the good boy or girl. Leo rules the ego. For like a water sign, it's always about the feeling, like, how do I feel? How do I make you feel? And for the earth sign, it's about what can we get done? Like, we're all practical. We want to make sure everything's great, in materialistic and physical terms. But I do think that we know that the male brain is just like very blinkered, chop wood, carry water. And then the female brain is all this wiring and complexity around emotion and connecting things. And, like we were saying earlier, Monet, like the man will go, he'll kill the animal, he'll bring it back. And then the woman prepares this beautiful meal and she, adds all the elements and feeds 1,000, right? It's like he brings the basic thing and then we make beautiful things, and he's out chopping wood, we're quilting blankets, right? It's all intricate, right? We do things in a more complex way. We also do things in a more inclusive and encompassing way because our brains are nurturing brains. So we are trying to take care of people's emotions and feelings and well-being. And the man is like, chop wood, carry water, chop wood, carry water. So we know the brains are different, which means the emotions are different. There are studies and research that says that men experience maybe 30 emotions and women up to 3,000, right? So is there less complexity for men? Yeah, they're hunter-gatherers. Like, we have to look at biology, right? We know what we would like to see. But a woman is going to be like out there hunting and gathering, and then the baby cries, or the dog barks, or the mother yells or somebody does something and we're distracted and we're like, oh, let's go and check. He's still hunting and gathering, right? So what is the ego doing? The ego is suppressing way more emotions and trauma for women, less for men. Like, technically, we don't know the truth of people's reality. But also protecting women from some of the biological impulses around who are we here to protect, care for, look after, whereas the man doesn't have that biologically. So what is your ego really afraid of? Your ego is afraid of who's going to feed the children if you're not there, right? Who's going to keep them clothed? Who's going to, and it doesn't matter if you have children or if your children are grown and living their own lives, there's a part of your ego that has all of these impulses in it and is suppressing the fears around that. And it's everything that we suppress that runs the show. It's not the little tip of the iceberg that we're conscious of that gatekeeps, where we can say, okay, enough of that, let's do it anyway. Let's make the video anyway. The fear in the shadow, the doubts, the suppressed stuff is actually running the show. And even though you may have climbed the corporate ladder and reached certain heights, a part of your ego, especially as a woman, is going to be like, the whole team helped me get here because we're inclusive. And the man is like, look what I did. I came, I saw, and I conquered. That is like fundamentally the difference in egos. We are always just more inclusive. We look for families and tribes and groups. And the man is like, just me, myself, and I, look what I did. Is not even acknowledging other people, whether it's that he should take care of them or that they helped him.
Well, even if you go back to primal brain, right? Primal attraction, men were attracted to women for procreation only, and women sought providers, somebody that could protect and take care of them.
Yeah.
That brain still exists in us.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if we go back to the very beginning of our conversation, there is some overarching belief or just human dynamic, right? That says he is the protector and we support him, right? That's the whole, if you look at the old school matriarchy, it was always the strong woman at home running the family while the man went out and fought and hunted and gathered.
Yeah.
But she was the one in charge. Everybody knew it, even though in public, right, he was the front facing masculine.
Yeah. So even if we think about business from an astrology point of view, that's the 10th house ruled by Capricorn. And I say this to people, so you guys might have heard this. Capricorn's feminine. So it's ruled by Saturn, which is all about discipline and frameworks and sustainability, and right, it's quite cold. But Capricorn is the 10th house. That is the house of business, of it's not necessarily entrepreneurship, that's kind of Aries, but it is the business of things, right? As far as like building the structure of a business. And that's feminine. And the way I like to think of it is, if we go back to sort of like people being farmers, and the man goes out and he farms every day, whatever he brings back, the woman would use whatever was needed and go and sell the rest. The selling the rest was the business, the exchange, the bartering, the getting money for the excess. That was the woman. The man would be farming, literally doing the hard, heavy labor. And she would be doing the calculations like, if we store this much wheat, it will keep us through the winter. If we freeze dry or whatever these animals, that will feed the family for whatever, right? And we've got all this excess of whatever. I'll take that to the market and sell it or exchange it with my neighbours for X, Y, and Z. But yet, we are breaking out of the patriarchy. It is dissolving. That's the good news. We're heading back to the golden age where all the pharaohs were women. But we are under this illusion, because it's an illusion, that business is masculine. And that comes from, in part, people like Henry Ford creating the work week. And if you've seen any of like the videos online, it shows you that the study wasn't about productivity. It was about how many hours do we need to keep people working so that they're too tired to rebel and go and do their own thing. Right? So it's the whole idea that the industrial age decided to make everything masculine. And up until World War II, for the most part, men were the workers. And this is happening in China now, where people are leaving the countryside, moving into the towns to make money instead of doing their own thing. And what happened was men were put into these 40-hour work weeks, building a whole structure created by men. Women are designed to work 4 hours a day because we have so many other things to do and we're multitaskers. But until the war, the Second World War, when women actually went into the workforce, that was designed for men to be gainfully employed, as in, don't be in the streets rebelling, don't be doing all your dodgy nonsense like Peaky Blinders, don't be doing all of whatever underhanded. We want to channel your energy, put you somewhere where we keep you just tied enough so that you'll toe the line. And here we are, right? So the truth is that business is actually feminine, like enterprise is a feminine energy, because it's about giving and receiving, and we're the receivers. But also, I think as women, we have got to start having conversations like this, not just to identify what we're all kind of feeling and sensing, but to now start educating and supporting each other in how we move beyond all of this, because the ego has to die, right? And it might have to die every day for weeks and months and years in order for us to advance. But also, we've got to have awareness, I think, of all of these little patterns and messages, like the message of the male founder, thanks to my wife, like, and we're like, oh, so am I allowed to be the founder because I don't have a wife? Or, right? These little messages are being pushed on us in all these ways, because how many of us are watching female founder videos? Like we were talking about that earlier. I think Cody Sanchez is the only one that I intentionally seek out for anything business. That her podcast is the big deal. Everyone else I listen to, they're men.
Yeah, Sarah Blakely too, I think. I love her.
Okay, I'll go and look for her content.
Thanks, girl.
But see, even that, and I was going to say this earlier and I forgot, where women have been like the most successful founder, how many times has it been feminine products?
I would say more in a traditional business sense. I feel like this is amplified or exasperated in the spiritual world because of how feminine spirituality is portrayed as. Because I really feel like, I don't know, if I had gone into and created a brick and mortar, what if I bought, I don't know, laundromats, right? If we stick with Cody Sanchez. What if I bought laundromats and I had this whole chain of laundromats? Would I have these same feelings that I do when I'm a life coach or a business coach or some type of, it's almost like a starving artist story that we have, where we think, oh, this isn't tangible enough to put a price tag on, to measure in the linear structure that the traditional world measures in. Therefore, it must not be as valuable, or it must not be as worthy, or like whatever stories we have in our head about it.
Yeah. It's true. And I think, you know, back in like more ancient times, it's the equivalent of the healer, the herbalist, even the teacher, right? Was all like the woman's role, but not credited with any like importance, right? So you just do that for free. Just teach the children whatever. Like somebody gets sick, get some herbs, look after them, right? And it's when we look at those roles, they were almost like a given that you should just do them. But then these should be, even now, they're not well paid, like nurses, teachers, right? Let's not even get into it. But Big Pharma, very well paid, mostly run by men now. Yeah, so it's almost like, so if a woman's a cook, not well paid, but the chefs, the big chefs, all men. So what are we doing, ladies? What are we doing is the actual question. Because the more we talk about this, the more it's landing. And it's like, it's definitely landing because of this Scorpio full moon.
And it's becoming frustrating because, it's just what to do. Yeah, bridge.
Yeah, we need to figure out what the bridge is, because I think so many people avoid making that move because not just the ego, because a lot of people aren't even aware, but because of all the things that we've said. And it's like, how do I go from here to here? Like, it's more than figuring out the financial investment. It is about making it work. And what does it take to make it work? And do we as women feel like we have what it takes to make it work? Or is it this like subliminal, you'll never make it?
So I mean, just Lois, on something you said, and I forget her name, spandex lady, Sarah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Blakely.
Last week, I actually saw a male coach, whatever you want to call him, who is obviously now, trying to solicit the business of female founders, and used her as an example. But it never occurred, like, and if you think about it, you think she is most probably much more famous than him, but he used her as his springboard to try and attract business. And it actually infuriates me a little bit because he's obviously trying to attract female founders. And I don't know, there's something in me that just finds this this whole thing quite annoying. And I don't know when I'm going to start seeing more female founders that I'm finding that I want to listen to and that I feel attracted to, because I don't know where they are. And I'd love to see them.
We have to stop doing the work. I think we have to, as women, and I'm not even going to talk about intersexual competition because that is like one of my big interests at the moment. But as women, and I think this is easier as we get older, I might be wrong. But I think as women, we have to intentionally seek out other female founders and find ways to support each other and work together. But in terms of content, why aren't we doing more content? What are we waiting for? I'm very guilty of like being almost too relaxed in terms of not putting stuff out there. Why? I don't know. I'm a little bit I don't know. Is there a responsibility that we're neglecting, right, as female founders, where we should be stepping up and doing more? Where I don't know what I don't even know what my reason is. I don't really have one.
It's very interesting what you're bringing up, because I'm having two different conversations in two different groups right now, where what I'm seeing with my clients is once you really tap into your inner authority and your own power, there is no need to broadcast to the world, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Like, we get really still in ourselves and super powerful, and we just build in almost a parallel society with, because I don't need to resist your world anymore. I can just go do my thing and I'm happy as can be. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. I set my own standards. I do all these things. The other conversation that's happening, and Kara's on here, her and I have it all the time, is we don't want to market the way men market.
Yeah.
It feels gross.
Yeah.
But instead of figuring out how we do want to market and showing up that way so that people can find us, we resist and rebel and just say, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to market that way. If that's the way I have to do it, I'm not doing it. And that hurts as well,
Yeah.
right? It's the women that are actually stepping into their own power are quietly living their lives. And I mean, that's amazing, but there's still no role models for us. There's no people out there that we say, oh, look at what she's doing. She has what I want. I'm going to, follow her or find out what she's doing or whatever. Like, we just seem to go invisible again, or we go invisible because we're in total rebellion against what's being done. And I think both need to be having these conversations. Like, we need more women, including ourselves, stepping up and saying, this is what I'm doing in a way that supports women. Like, not that resists the patriarchy or rebels against anything. Just get in our lane and go. Like, that's kind of weird.
And so I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think there is definitely something about empaths that just don't feel the need to show up. And it's not, I mean, I oscillate between I just don't want to and I don't need to. And it's almost like showing up takes so much. It's not even effort. I literally can feel the layers that I'm bulldozing through of my own kind of cocoonedness, right? Of what feels safe and what feels necessary and all of that. And it's like, unless there's a big enough reason, I'm not showing up. And I definitely need to get over that. But I just think, what if we have to almost invade the existing systems in order to change them? Because it is hard to build something parallel if something appears to be working for some people. How do we improve it, change it, make it work if we don't even want to get involved, right? Is that something that resonates? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I look at it like a narcissist, right? The only way to win against a true narcissist is to starve them of attention.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it now. Is I can't fight the current system. I mean, people have been trying for years, right? It doesn't work. And resisting something is actually feeding it. It's giving it attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No press is bad press. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So if I'm just over here gathering troops, right, and building something totally different, it's kind of like the Velvet Revolution with Czechoslovakia, right? At some point, it's going to be so big that now this becomes totally irrelevant. And people are like, oh, yeah, we're not interested.
That is a good point. But what happens to everybody now? Like, how do we create the bridge from that to what is being built? Because I think, so the reason this conversation started, Monet and I were speaking about people that are still in careers in the job market that are ready to transition or thinking about it. And people differentiating between purpose and career, when in fact your purpose is your work in the world, but people tend to separate it. So people will be like, I'm a lawyer by trade And my purpose is going to the animal shelter every weekend. Well, why not just have an animal shelter if that's your purpose? Right? So it's like people separate. This is voluntary, that's my purpose. This is my career, when actually your purpose is your work. And the idea is that you figure out how to, commercialize your purpose to whatever extent. That's just what I see it as. And the idea that people have to take this drop from what they've achieved in the world of work or career to then start a purpose, I think that is keeping people stuck. So that's why I'm like, there needs to be a bridge. And so in the same way, what if there needs to be a bridge from the way we show up now to the way that we are building our own ways and means of commercializing our work? Because there's the Cody Sanchez, the Sarah Blakely, I don't give a damn about Oprah or Sheryl Sandberg, right? Like, they're not our people, that we know what's really going on. So it's like, for people getting ready to make that transition, all they have is the Stephen Bartlett's and the Chris Williamsons and the Alex Hormozes. And Leela's there. I'll watch his video before I watch hers. Like, is that my bad? I don't know. Like, the Tom Bailus and the Lisa Bailus, like, I don't watch it.
Do we lose her?
Have we lost
your
you?
podcast?
Ah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's
now.
saying your
Okay.
internet is unstable.
Oh, okay.
You're back.
They don't like what I'm saying. But and then the females that I do follow, they're astrologers, right? They're healers, they're spiritual and wellness people. But for the business of purpose and the business of showing up as female founders, maybe we're going to have to invade. I don't know, because what is there for people that are coming
They're
in?
there. They're just not as loud. They're there.
Well, maybe that's the work that we need to do, is that we need to support those that are there. We need to find more and intentionally get behind them. And maybe we need to erase the programming of looking at the males.
Yeah, I think we have to get rid of the stories that were given to us ancestrally, culturally, socially, all of that. And we have to start moving through our own standards, through our own set of rules, right? I talk about the rebel and the outlaw, right? The rebel is going to fight against something. The outlaw is just going to go do their thing. And while it looks like rebelling, they're not concerned with these rules over here. They're just living by their own. Now, is that easy in this world? No, because the difference is so big, right? Of the linear world has been the world as long as we've been alive, right? So, and much, much longer. But until we just individually do that work and start moving in that way, while grassroots effort, finding people along the way like us, right? I just met Monet today. So it's like we just start gathering, and then it's going to have a snowball effect.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight thing.
I think we definitely need to do more gathering.
And we can just keep talking. I was going to say, I've seen, I'm in a couple of salons now where these conversations are happening, and I think it is happening. Like, it's happening faster than we know, just because there's not enough visibility, and we're not talking about it in front. We're talking behind the scenes, right? We have masterminds where these conversations happen, but they never make it to the front, where other women can go, oh my God, that's what I was looking for. That's me. That's what I want. And they have to start happening on the screen, not just behind the scenes.
Yeah. It has to be that deeper understanding and ability to reflect, but also I find that identifying what is going on is often misconstrued, right? Because the male gaze, centering the male perspective, all of those things. And this is not a feminist movement. This is a pro-female founder movement that I think we're talking about. Because when we come up against blocks, obstacles, like whatever, the way that we translate them is based on the knowledge that we have. Where's that knowledge coming from? Usually a male founder or entrepreneur perspective. The reason that you haven't got more clients is, right? Not that there's something within you that wants to people please, or that you price according to your own pricing mechanism that's internal, or that you intuitively can sense that I shouldn't launch this because I can tell that this is not where people are, but I can't explain why. So it's like we're reflecting on things based on the male perspective a lot of the time, because we don't have, because even if I do think about the women that are out there, they are spitting a lot of masculine rhetoric about business. They're not really talking about doing like intuitive selling, or which is one of the things that I teach. I just don't do, everyone knows I don't do traditional marketing at all. But there's way more that could be done if we learn to use our intuition and be more intuitive and like connect with people in different ways. We don't really talk about that. So when something happens, what we tend to hear is a masculine approach. So we're self-diagnosing and self-analyzing based on the masculine approach to business.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that all the time. We women are perpetuating the patriarchy just as much as men are at this point in the game.
Yeah.
And until we stop that, it's never going to end, right? Because we're
Very
equally
true.
culpable in this conversation.
Very true.
I think you hit on it with the intuition. We don't value intuition because it's not tangible. We can't touch it. We can't see it on in our bank accounts, like none of that.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult at this point for us to own that. And you and I have had those conversations, right? I have a hard time, especially coming from 35 years in corporate, of saying, I just know these things and I have no idea how I know them.
Yeah.
Because in corporate, that didn't fly. Like, where's your data? Show me the spreadsheet, right? And I don't have a spreadsheet. It's energy. Like,
yeah, because you didn't go chop wood. And we just don't chop wood.
No.
We just don't. But we're trying to. We're trying to chop wood and carry water for like 16 hours a day when we're designed to work 4 hours a day. And the rest of it is all about feelings and compassion and intuiting and like creating, right? We are real creators. Like, and the other thing is, we don't really give ourselves time. We try and work at masculine pace as well. It takes 9 months to grow a baby. We're like, by the end of the month, I have to have an offer.
Well,
right?
And
it's like,
we fill our time
we've not intuited enough. We've not absorbed enough energy. We've not communicated and connected with enough people to even know what people are needing right now. Right. So we move at this pace and in these ways, which are very masculine, which is just go chop wood and carry water. Like, it's just very straightforward. That's all that they're doing. And we're out here doing the healing, teaching, like intuitive practices. And it's not that all women do that, because obviously there are women in masculine businesses. Go follow the masculine blueprints. Like, that's great. But I think for us in the spiritual wellness, like well-being, like really trying to manifest like into the physical the work that we do naturally, because a lot of us, our purpose is basically, what do people come to us for in the real world anyway? Right? Like, you walk down the street, what happens? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, this is kind of who I am. How do I now make this physical and make this a thing that people will pay for, etc.? It's really hard. And I've had, like, even quite recently, a man who said something along the lines of, I don't believe that people should charge for spiritual gifts. Like, if you're psychic, you just do it for free. Well, I'm sorry, that is my work, right? There, at no point ever again, because I did it for free a lot in the beginning as I learned and developed. Why would I be doing it for free when it's the work that I do, right? So go chop wood for free. No, because that's their work, right? So what we're doing is, there isn't a blueprint for a lot of us for the work that we're doing, because it is purpose-filled work. And that's why I think we have so many questions around what's really going on.
I also think, like, it's the same as the home, right? If I work outside the home and I have kids and I have a spouse, I go chop wood and carry water, and then I come home and I do all the household things, right?
Yeah.
It's so distorted. Like, feminine business is so distorted in that if it's in the spirituality, like, it shouldn't be hard. It should just flow and you should just be in state. You still got to frickin' chop wood and carry water to build a business.
Yeah.
Period. So it's no different. You have to be able to do both, and you can't, like, prioritize one over the other, because then you get into I'm just checking boxes, but I have no time for the intuition part of it. And I don't even know why I'm checking these boxes, other than some structure told me to do so. And we have to figure this out. Like, we have to really put that all together.
Yeah.
And I also, oh, go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, I also think that we have to individually, like, shift within ourselves. Like, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought when I said that. What you were just talking about, that as a collective we have to change, but also this is an individual journey. Oh, the blueprint. There is no blueprint for you either. Like, you are your blueprint. And as long as we are looking at others and listening to others, even with other women, we're never going to get to that wholeness within ourselves. Like, that is an individual journey that has to happen.
And this is where all the spiritual tools come in, because I think even for me, like, working in media as a consultant for a long time, so many things changed when I understood astrology. Because there are things where you're like, well, I'm really good at this because you learned it, not because it's your natural way of being, or where your energy is supported, or where the universe is pulling you, right? So it's like, I'm great at talking. I have more words every day than most people. Yeah, I've got Saturn in Gemini in my second house. Perfect, right? But how are we using that? Because I was using it to sell, to organize, and, create media type scenarios. Whereas now I'm using it to channel, to give guidance, to offer, what people need on a soul level. Same skill used in a very different way, right? One, you could almost say, was like very Gemini and very duplicitous, like conniving, like selling, you have to buy this ad or this sponsorship, and I'm going to make all these promises. Whereas now it's like, let's not sanitize, let's tell people the truth. You got some serious things coming your way. How are we preparing, right? Or this is what this is trying to show you. And, there's some soul work here. It's not always giving the best outlook. It's more about the truth, right? So it's like, this is why the work that we do is so important, because people are suffering because not only do they lack vision, they lack truth, they lack the tools, and they don't have anybody to give them the guidance. We don't have the elders in the communities anymore. We just don't have what we used to have. And we don't have anybody who's willing to tell the truth, even if it is with a cup of tea and a spoon of sugar, right? But say, honey, listen, this is what should really be happening or what you're about to go through. And so I just think, is that part of the answer? Is that we do select the aspects of what's out there where we have to chop wood and carry water for like a couple of hours a day to be able to put out there the real work that is actually really not only purpose aligned, but is working for humanity in the way that it needs to be done. Because I think now more than ever, our work is needed.
Mhm.
And for me, it's still the journey from successful executive to founder who's shit scared to put out an offer. Like, what is that gap? Yeah.
Yeah. We need to build the bridge.
Yep.
Well, the gap is the cost that you're not willing to be responsible for, right? That's all of us. There's a cost that comes with putting that offer out, an emotional cost of some sort, right? It could
And our identity cost as well sometimes.
challenge belonging, challenge status, challenge like anything.
As a woman, it's more difficult for me. Why is it more difficult for me as a woman than a male founder?
Do we know that's true?
Thanks, Lauren. Sorry.
Do we know that's true, or are we?
It's just what I suppose what I'm
projecting that onto men? Like, I don't know.
Maybe it's what you're seeing,
Right?
and
Yeah,
the interpretation of that.
And it's more
But
challenging because it's you.
I think again, it's individual, but I do believe that a lot of that really does depend on where you're coming from.
And the role models, exactly what you were talking about. Maybe if I was watching female founders, this would be not so much as I'd be like, yeah, okay, great.
But also, like, even your corporate background, very structured, very orderly, very protected. I came up through boiler rooms, right? Like, one of maybe two women. Like, if you've watched Wolf of Wall Street, that was my background. So do I care if an offer fails? I actually don't. But that's because I came up through 100 calls a day, like closing deals, like motivating other people, like working hard, playing hard. So there was nothing protective about the industry I came up in. So I was kind of prepared for this. And obviously later on it became a lot bougier and a lot nicer. But those early years kind of prepared me for, it's very masculine, like fail forward, fail fast, like just go. Hit them with it. No one likes it, back to the drawing board. Like, like leisure time at Google campus. That's not leisure, but you're surrounded by entrepreneurs all the time. That environment does prepare you to have a go, put yourself out there, do something, get crazy or whatever, and just do it quickly, right? So who were your role models? Who are you raised up around, even in terms of corporate? And what have you witnessed?
Yeah, country's important.
I've seen billionaires lose everything and
you're not
gain
allowed
back.
to fail.
I've seen millionaires like sell their Rolls Royce, right, and still come into the office and get it back again. Like, I've seen failure in a big way. So it doesn't mean that I'm not a little bit afraid, but I know that I'm not failing on those levels, like, but I do think that is quite personal. But on a soul level, it's all about going like the individuation process, right? And what is it that you have to break up with in terms of the stories, but what soul contracts are you completing? What karmic debts are you ending? Like, what does it take on the back and forth to finally say no more back and only forward? Because you're going to go from comfort zone to pushing yourself to back again. And I think sometimes our expectations prevent us from more gracefully doing the back and forth. Sometimes we're ricocheting, right? Because we expect that, well, it's been 6 months, where's my first meal? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, maybe that 6 months was just about you acclimatizing to being outside of the cocoon of a job, right? Maybe the expectations were being fed by the media, and do you know what I mean? I don't know. So there's a lot to contend with. And if we were making those shifts in any other area of life, I think we'd be more patient, but we'd also have more support, guidance, and advice. So it's like, somebody has 9 months to have a baby. If you meet somebody, it takes a while before you get married, like, unless you're Khloe Kardashian and we see how that ended. But it's like in most areas of life, we do give ourselves a bit of time and grace, and we know who to speak to. And there's always that little, guidance and step by step and hand holding. But in a lot of cases, as like women, we either don't have the luxury of time, or we just have the wrong expectations around time, and we don't give ourselves the time.
I also
Or
think
failure.
who we're watching has a lot to do with it, right? Because we started off
Yeah.
talking about Alex. We didn't watch Alex when Alex was growing his business. We didn't even know who he
No, we
was.
didn't.
We didn't know who he was until he was already successful. And that's the way most of the people on social media are. We're not following peers, peer-to-peer level, and understanding the struggles or dynamics that we're all experiencing, like we're having this conversation. And I think that is to our detriment, for one thing, because we only see them once they're successful. We have no idea what they went through before they were Insta famous, right? So
Yeah.
like that can skew our perception, right? If we're sitting here going, God, Alex is so successful, he's doing this, he has a wife, and okay, but he's not at the level that I'm at. He's like way far ahead. And I think if we only looked 1 or 2 steps ahead of us just for the motivation to say it's possible, and then we stayed within our peer group, we would probably find success less difficult, or we would at least have ears to relate to the same things that we're going through, and it wouldn't feel like you're on an island, right?
Yeah.
Which
Like,
is why the community, Sherelle, you're trying to build is so important. And I mean, without trying to plug
Trying.
anything,
Like
it's
literally
just
trying. It's
it
such
just
hard work.
literally is. It's what's missing in the world, I think, and I just wish more people saw that.
I
Well,
mean,
we're
I wasn't going to say that, but what I was going to say is that that's where I think people like us do need to show up a little bit more, because the gap between us and some people is not that wide, right? We've not gone over the edge yet. And I think when we just like, I want to say, so the people that I know that are female founders, like women entrepreneurs, especially people that I've known for a while, I watch the growth, but we've grown together. Like, we've had the ups and the downs together. We've talked about, I'm done with this, I'm never doing this again, I hate it, I've got to change, and watch each other figure it out and then go on a new path and support each other on the way. And I think if that was being shown more, the messiness of it, well, hi, you've not seen me for 3 weeks because I don't do this anymore. I'm now doing this, or I'm working on this. I have those conversations privately all the time. Like, I'll do it on a consultation, like just speaking to somebody, or like somebody will email or message me and say, you starting groups again? Well, I'm working on something over here. Like, you guys know, like, about the app that I've been working on. I'm not doing a public announcement. I'm not doing a video and posting it on YouTube, and maybe I should, right? To encourage people and let them know it's messy as hell. And every now and then we get something great out there, but you don't see how many times we failed on school. Like, and maybe some people wouldn't call it a failure. We've had 6 iterations, Monet? I don't know.
Yeah.
We have like gone over and over. Stop, try this now. Stop that, try this. And it's not that every idea isn't great, but if it's not working, I'll be like, next. I'm never going to sit with something where I cannot see the success in it. I'm going, okay, what have we learned? What are we keeping? Get rid of that. Now let's go and look at this. Right, we've mastered this. What do we not know now? What are people doing here? What are people doing there? And it's the messiness of yesterday finding out I had 2 YouTube channels. What? Like Substack created a YouTube channel for me? Like some people would freak out about that. And don't get me wrong, there was a moment of I didn't give anyone permission to post that video, but it was easy for me to just like take it down, get rid of the extra channel. It made me update my proper channel, right? And then it was like, you need to start doing videos, Sherrill. Maybe we should be filling that gap. Because even with like Layla Hormozi, Sarah Blakely, Cody Sanchez, they're successful. They are. They have had success. They are doing things that somebody starting out or just leaving corporate are a million miles away from. But because they're all they're seeing is success, their expectation is I'm smart enough, I've got enough savings in the bank, these people have given me the blueprint, they've told me what to do. No one's telling them about the internal work. No one's telling them about the emotional like upheaval. No one's telling them that. They're just giving them black and white, step by step, follow this and you'll be fine. And they're launching into it. Because no one is, I don't know of anyone anyway, that is doing videos and creating content about things that we're talking about.
Including us.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
that is maybe we should be doing more of that. And listen, anyone who knows me, manifesting generator, got all the ideas in the world. Don't hold me to it. But what is it that is like, where am I overthinking doing that?
Well, and I
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have to stop with the idolatry, right? Of everything, of everyone. Like we put people on such high pedestals and then compare ourselves to them. And it's crazy.
That's a good point.
But also to your point of maybe I should be putting out this content saying, hey, you know what? I've tried 6 of these and they haven't worked. And now here's my 7th one. Coming from the corporate world, that our process or our journey is not rewarded. The only thing that's rewarded is the destination. And we have to change that because the journey is the work. Like that's when we're doing all the actual things, right? I love what Mary said. You can read it.
Can you read it out? I can't see it properly.
This is absolutely fantastic, ladies. Thank you for defining programmed roles that can clearly shape New Earth consciousness, honoring all the toilets cleaned, the diapers changed, wood chopped, and food provided. Women and men are whole and nurtured.
Amazing. So it's a real conversation. I mean, I wasn't planning on having this conversation today. I do think the Scorpio full moon is activating things. This is my house of relationships and partnerships. And obviously you guys are like almost like business partners, but we have a partnership kind of relationship. And I just think maybe this is really about the deeper conversation of where women sit. Is it the founder seat or behind the founder? And what are we doing about that? Because it's not that we can't found things, but how far do we go with them? what is our perspective on success? What are we searching for, reaching for, aiming for? And is there a level or a cutoff point where women stop and the man becomes the face and women stay in the supporter role? And what happens if you're a single woman or a woman that doesn't have immediate support? Or do women do it anyway, whether the man's behind them or not? I don't know. That is a lot of questions, but I just think that there is definitely something out there telling us as women that we are the architects and not the founders. And I just think we have to decide for ourselves what we are, and and what does that mean for us all as female founders or women entrepreneurs?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would add to that is you get to be whatever the fuck you want to be. Like, if you want to be an architect, be an architect. If you want to be a founder, be a founder. And don't apologize for it and don't justify it. Like, that's where we have to get to. There's no right answer here. What we're following is the example that's been set, right? Of
I want to be a founder.
Well, go be one. we support you.
Don't make me an architect, please.
You get to be. You can be both. You can be a founder and an architect.
I think by default we end up, most of us, being both. To be fair, like, it's by default, isn't it? But yeah. I guess it is permission to be whatever. But I think the question came from: is there a block around women becoming founders that pushes them into the passenger seat or the architect seat? I don't think the question was around the conscious choice. I think there is an unconscious or subconscious pattern that tends to play out, and that's why we hear so many of these men with great wives, by the way, who were completely self-sufficient, doing great by themselves when they met these men, and then these men apparently have surpassed them and are the face, and the women are in the background. I think that was the question, because why don't we know about Mark Zuckerberg's wife and her amazing philanthropy and business acumen and all the things that she does? And why has Miranda Gates disappeared into the background and we still are talking about Bill and Epstein Island? I'm just saying. Like, I think I'm not going to bring Melania into this, but Ivana, right? Like, what is that thing? And am I afraid of it? Maybe.
We're also presuming that they didn't want what they have. Right? Because if we go back to Layla, she doesn't want to be on the camera. She wants to just run the company. She's the CEO.
Is that the female ego, though? This is the question, because most of us don't want to be on camera.
Right. So why
what is
force
that?
ourselves to be?
I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like, is this a real thing? Is it programming? Is it what we're trained to believe? Do you know what I mean? That is the point. Like, why doesn't she want to be on camera? Why are there these invisible glass ceilings and walls that after a certain level, women are pushed back? And it's true. It's very real that a lot of these men that are successful marry up. They marry well. That is like, there's loads of like data on that. Why are the women not taking advantage of their starts in life and the man comes in and does it? That is a real question for me. Why doesn't Layla want to be on camera?
She's pretty active.
We don't know what her purpose is, right? We don't know.
But she's pretty active on LinkedIn, and she's always so what we call coiffed. So she's always so put together. And then you watch a video from Alex, and he looks like he just got up.
Bear.
Yeah. I'm like, really?
And it's okay. Yeah.
And they've talked about that publicly, though.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I found a
But-
woman that didn't care if I looked like a lumberjack, and that's how he dresses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
I
I'm
would
not
love to speak to
judging
Layla.
it.
I would
Yeah.
want to speak to Layla. I think he has a lot of control. But the other thing that I would say is like, so all of these women don't want to be on camera? Like nobody wants to? Like,
Well,
do you know
Is
what I
there
mean? It's like,
Cody does.
Yeah.
Cody's husband does not want to be on camera. He said that a million times.
and she's the only one I can find.
Sarah, well, I guess Sarah Blakely's husband's on camera, but totally different companies. Like you don't even know, right? Jesse Heitzler. Emma.
Do you know what I
what's her
mean?
name?
There is a question. And if it is just like the female psyche, if it is just how we're built, fine. But what do we do then? How do we change our expectations or manage our expectations? Or is there a myth out there? Is it some kind of programming? And is it something that we need to actively be working to change? Because I don't know any of us that love to get on camera. It's not what I want to do first thing every morning.
Yeah.
I mean, you made me get out of bed and put clothes on to get on camera.
Apparently, it works in the male world of marketing, right?
I think,
But
to your
we
point,
don't want to.
Yeah, we have to change the examples that we're looking at, right? Because that's all we see. So
yeah, we've got to go find
imagine something that we haven't seen yet is much more difficult.
You know, you say that, and when I was in Dubai, I was on camera. I put myself on camera quite a bit because I gave myself a challenge. And I think, Sherelle, I discussed with you how many of the people I knew were saying, oh, Monet, you put on some makeup, do your hair, wear a nice jacket. People are going to be judging you. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? They're gonna, why me? You don't judge nobody else, but you're going to judge me. And I've got to put on some makeup. I've got to do my hair. And who's got time for that? I'm busy.
I have time for it. I am a Taurus rising. I'm not getting on camera if my hair's not somewhat done and my makeup's not done. But I'm a Taurus rising. I'm just going to put it out there with a Venus
I'm
in
Leo
Leo.
rising, and I'm just talking. I don't care. But everybody else does.
But
and they're
I was
telling
going
you.
to say, but is it you or is it other people?
No,
Because
it's
I
other
don't know
people.
what people say about me because
So
no one's telling
immediately
me.
I
And that's
withdrew
probably
and
my
I
Taurus,
stopped.
where they're like, we'll leave her alone.
Well, immediately I
think-
stopped recording.
I think they've got a nerve. I remember somebody telling you about your hair or something, and
Yeah.
I was outraged because it's like,
Put on some
excuse you?
makeup, do your hair, put on a nice jacket, or just like.
And I bet it was all
Why?
women, right? No men.
It was all women. All women. Yeah.
So that's them
It's like-
projecting. We can.
So what did
have a
you
little bit of
think about
grace for
what
them.
did you think about what I said? And like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't really know what you said. It's like, okay.
But that's intersexual competition. That's a woman like projection thing, I think. But yeah, so I mean, I think we can like bring this to a close. Thank you to everyone who got on and watched and contributed. Your comments are always very welcome. Thank you, Monet and Lois, for getting on at such short notice. This wasn't planned.
Thank you.
But I think what a great conversation. And I think this needs to be continued, like in whatever way. We definitely need to keep talking about the bridge to purpose because the job market is crashing, if no one's noticed. Like there are not going to be jobs. And I have a belief, and please somebody prove me wrong, but here we go with the truth again, that women are going to be the biggest casualties. And we've already seen that in the past year and plus or whatever, especially in the States. But listen, people need to align with their purpose and make the shift. And I'm not saying it's easy. And I'm not saying it's colour by numbers and step by step. It's messy, it's hard. You're going to have to be resilient and robust, but it's the most rewarding thing you will ever do. And I think the biggest shame in life is to have like not lived out your purpose to some extent. Like the thing that your soul came here to experience, like do whatever you can to break away from the guide ropes, the expectations, the societal pressures, and just live it. Like, even if you don't believe it's possible, figure out a way to start doing something that makes your soul sing. Because what a tragedy to just have always followed society's rules, like, and just be living like we've done it. We've all done the proper life. And then you get to a stage where you realize that nobody actually cares, nobody's actually grateful, and it was pressure you were putting on yourself. So, and a quick word for the full moon in Scorpio tomorrow. Just really take care of yourselves. Like, Scorpio is deep emotions, there'll be lots of feelings. The water signs, you in particular, are going to be feeling this. The fixed signs a little bit, that is Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio. So there'll be squares, so something will be activated, something will be released, something is going to be revealed for most of us. So give yourself some time and space emotionally. If you want to do some kind of like ritual or work, anything with water is great. So speak into a glass of water what you would like to surface, deal with, process, and then drink the water. Go sit by the water if you're lucky enough to have like a beach, a lake, or something nearby. Put your crystals out, all of that good stuff. But what I would say is just take care of yourselves emotionally, prepare for secrets and deep hidden truths to surface over the next week, and do your best to not sit in judgment and just be accepting and acknowledge whatever comes up for you. And if you're into shadow work, this is the perfect energy to do some shadow integration. So I hope you all found this useful. I'm a Taurus. I just want to be useful, not used. But yeah, this was great, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
And I
you.
hope that everybody who watches this video finds it useful and informative and inspiring and even a little bit triggering or activating. So see you all soon. Have a great full moon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, I think you guys have to leave.